So this is going to be a video of all my pieces, and you're going to want to stick around for this because there's going to be a lot of understanding gleaned about what's going on here, like why these are all burnt exactly the same, burnt out on the inside. And I'm going to use the sun here so we can get some good close-ups where the wood is actually lit up like this. And I'll talk about the two types of wood. It's a dual density bilayer of wood, the soft, wet, dense inner wood, and the hard, brittle outer wood, almost like a male and female. And that's why part of the branch burns and the other part remains. Male, female. These are just like concepts I've gleaned. This one's still flexible and completely burned out on the inside. And you can throw all of these on the fire lamp. There's the fire-breathing dragon right there. Yeah. And it shines a cool flicker on the other stuff. So there's a bunch of knowledge we're going to gain out of looking at all of this. Let's flip this one around real quick. Show you how just the knot burns hotter than everything else around it. And the fine line burn between the knot that was burning, the branch that was burning, the female wood, and the outer male wood that provides a shell that's drier, more brittle, and harder. The inner wood is softer, wet, and more dense. I got a bunch of pieces here. We're going to go over the way some of it works. We got the twisty wood, and a lot of it is for just cool for looks. You got the unicorn head down here. But these two demonstrate the same exact processes where they go from a perfectly round, a fully round, and you see the burn stripe going down this one and the burn stripe going down this one. So we essentially have the same process demonstrated here 5 different times. On this branch, this other one that comes from the same base, and these 3, it burns it from a full circular branch at the bottom to a thin reed like what grows up out of water. As thin as a fingernail on the tip. Unburned on one side, burned on the other. All the way up, you can see how thin that is right there. As thin as the crease in the line of the crease in my hand. And it also shows a directional flow of the energy coming up through and coming this way. That's why this line is burnt on this side of this one, going up and down, along with the same effect on this one. So you can see the energy comes up and only burns this side. And it does the same thing right here on this branch. Burns it to a thin reed right at the end. Thin is like a fingernail. But it started out as a round circular branch. The thinning starts right there and carves out this side of it. I'm shaking a bit too much, so I'm going to steady the camera and get this all in the sun. So here you can see that it's unburnt on the bottom side of this thin reed. You will be able to here in a minute. The reason I left it set up this way and didn't get it all set up the way I want it first is because I want to show you this guy. This one's unlacquered, but what we have here is a family portrait of conehead termites. 2 identical ones, and here's the runoff. It was a competition. These guys got booted pretty quick, so did those guys. These guys did an okay job. And it was like the greatest artisans and craftsmen of the termite world. These are like the Nazca lines of the termite world. You'll see doodlings of termites all over, but they don't take these shapes. And I'm going to show you the reason I know these were conehead termites, because I just Googled termite. Notice the equidistant line of thorax below the very last set of legs. They gave themselves more legs than they really have. Maybe they have like leg envy or something. But they have equidistant amount of thorax at the end of each one of these images. And I'm going to show you a conehead termite now, and then come back to this. So I looked up termite, and they don't all have this beak shape like a bird's head with a bird beak on it. In fact, these are the only ones that have that shape of a head. They're called a conehead termite. And I can 99% guarantee that that's the type of termite that carved these images, and that it is a type of self-portrait. Because the head shape is identical on both of these two images, along with the thorax length and everything else about the images that are right next to each other, identical. And you can see 3 attempts leading up to the finals, like it was a competition, and those 2 finals was a runoff between the greatest artisans that had the competition that won the playoffs of those 3 images that didn't quite make it, and they stopped and started over. But those 2 that are identical, with the equal amount of thorax beyond the last legs on the insect and the same shape head, tells me that those were conehead termites, and that there's intelligence there beyond what we would like to imagine. And that's why we're like, nah, that can't be. They didn't do a self-portrait. Those aren't the Nazca lines of the termite world. I think so. See the beak on both of them? They both got the same shaped head, and at the front they both have a set of legs that go forward and all the other legs go backward, and they have that equidistant length of thorax at the back end that go beyond the rear legs. I'm going to wet them here real quick, just so you can see the outline a little better. I don't know if that helps, but this is more like what they'll look like once they're lacquered. Oh, the sun's kind of messing me up here on the glare. But I do believe these are intelligent design, self-portraits. And here's the runoffs right here. These 3. They attempted to make the same design these 3 times right here. I think it deserves another 10 minutes, and that those are some talented bugs. But I'll spare you. I'll just try and get a few more images from a few more different angles. This one's got a good, you can see the beak on that one really well from this angle, on the far one. And then this one, you can also see the beak is right there, pointing off the head. I cut it off there with my finger. That's the beak. So yeah, I'm thinking that both of these are conehead termite images. Okay, enough with the conehead termites. Okay, enough. This one, you can see through it all the way around. And we got the fake flame going on in there. But each one of these branches that sticks out a little ways, here's another one. They're all thoroughly burned on the inside, all the way around. So that's one of the features on this wood. It's kind of older wood and it cracked, but it's still good. I kind of closed the curtains so we could see the fake flame. I won't do that on all of them. This one was just a good candidate because it's got a nice open hollow center in there. So you can see all the wood in there. It turns a nice shiny black once you get enough lacquer on it. And when the lights are out, this one's got enough holes, it throws kind of a flicker flame. Ooh, I'm tripping over plasma wood here. It throws a flicker flame light pattern out on the ceiling. Oh yeah, and this one's got kind of a, I won't even go there. I'll go there later with the dragon heads. My dad thought this was like the mask on Scream with the stretched out face. I was like, I think you're stretching a little, but maybe. So we'll turn the lights back on and show you some of the fine line burn patterns. We'll look inside there for a minute. Pretty cool, eh? All right, you getting dizzy yet? Okay, let's open the curtains back up. I'm gonna have to speed it up. We got a lot of wood to go. So this one's about done. It might have some fine line burn patterns on it somewhere that I might want to point out, but there'll be plenty of others elsewhere. We'll just show you what the inside looks like. Like this is a fine line burn pattern here between the inner edge and the outer edge. But there'll be plenty more where that came from. So this is kind of looking up through it. Looking up throughout the branches. That's a different perspective, looking out the branches from the inside. Yeah. Bet you never thought you'd see that point of view, because it never hardly, like, did it ever even exist before now? This camera perspective, the Jeff cam from inside of a tree looking out of the hollow branches. Not burned, maybe hollowed out in some other way, but not burned. Okay, this tree is the bomb. We'll set it down on the floor for a sec. He started complaining. He's like, I didn't get my ground level circle around like all the other trees. Wants his runway time. He's a diva of a plasma tree if I ever saw one. It is pretty cool though, being able to look right through them. That's what this one provides the best example of. For whatever reason, all of these are burnt exactly the same. Burnt out from here, and I suspect this was a whole branch coming out of here this big. But the hard, outer, dry, dense, less weight, less dense, but harder. It's drier, it's more brittle. Creates a protective support barrier to hold up the softer, more pliable, wet, more dense, that attracts the electricity because it's wet and more dense. And it creates the same effect on all three of these. Well, more than three. One, two. Here's a third. I think it's got a few others, but you get the point. Here's a fourth sticking out over here. Does the same thing. And you can see, we'll look down through the middle and even lift it up so as you can see how truly hollow it is. What do you think? Does that look like the face on the movie screen? The mask? Maybe a little? Or did he smoke a little too much weed that day or something? Alright, next item. So this one's good because it would make a better lamp that would just kind of fit in with the rest of your furniture. So it's more regular shape. But you see how it's got that rip all the way down, and I've got the light turned on so you can see that it's hollow all the way inside. That's the rip from the other side. I bet you didn't know a tree had a zipper, did you? Yeah. You can see all the way around in there. So it's a fine line burn going up both sides here. Up this side and down that side. And on it goes. So, I'm not sure what angle to get this at, but where you can see the black on one side of the zipper and the completely unburned wood on the other. It's kind of cool. That would have some light creeping out the other side. And it's nice and hollow all the way down in. Probably that far. There's my elbow. And this burn line's pretty cool. But there'll be plenty more burn lines to look at. Like this, right here where it goes from burn to unburn. Where it's the inner soft layer and the outer hard layer where they meet. And then it rides the same line all the way up. Right here, you can see that there's the two layers meeting right there. Alright, we'll move along. This piece is pretty cool though. Here we go, I got the right angle. A, B. Alright, we're good. This one's just cool because it's got the flames here. They're like flamey wood. And these two little pieces, unburnt on the front, are just as burnt on the backside as everything else inside. But it gives us this, where you can see the knot burned clear down inside. We'll even turn the light on for this, or I'll just get out of the way of the light. There we go. You can see that it burned this branch clear down inside. When we get up level, flush with the wood, you can see that this burn line right here actually goes back into the wood, a full fingernail right there. So it's actually burned that branch back in. There's the female wood, the soft, dense, Here's the outer shell. It also reproduces this on the other side, another one of these, where it's the underside of the hard dense wood burnt out, and then there's the top side of the same branch. So the top side is the new pliable wood, and the bottom part to hold it up is a harder, more dense, brittle, less flexible wood. And that's also why you can't x-ray trees, is because of this dual density bilayer. But this one actually burned back in past the wood that surrounds it. So how does it, that's a real excellent example of how this wood burns in ways that you can't explain with normal thermodynamics or fire or whatever. This lip right here kind of proves it. How did that burn in past that other lip right here? How did this part burn in past there without burning this wood that I'm touching here? That's the example that I'm getting at here. And it gives another example on the other side. I'm going to turn it around so we can see it better. Oh, I've got the light on anyway. All around this whole thing, this was another branch or a knot in the wood. Where a branch protrudes is a knot. Look how much it's got right there. A full finger length into the other wood, even up top here. So I'm going to turn it around now and we'll have better lighting. But it gives us another example of what's on the other side, where one branch, the knot burns hottest and first, and within the other wood without burning the rest of the wood around it. You don't need to see my hand waving around it, you need to see the wood, I apologize. And the fine line burn right here. All around it, where there's a real fine line between the highly burned and the unburned wood. These are things that you'll see all over all of it. So there's not much more to see on this one. Here's those flexible flames on the other side, the little pieces of wood that I said that were just as burnt as the rest of the wood. How those did not burn is part of the mystery. Because if you notice, they're not burned on this side, and flexible, both of them. I don't want to flex it too much to where it breaks, but you can see how it's wiggling, right? How bizarre. So while we're showing off your flamey parts, that's what we started with, but we'll go ahead and show you flamey parts again. Okay, we showed you flamey parts. I think we've seen about enough of this one. But it does show the same pattern at least a couple times right here and right here, where it burns out the top part but leaves the bottom part of the wood. So the bottom is part of the outer shell that creates a hardwood. And I'm going to talk about this one. This one created a hardwood outer shell using this strip, this strip, this strip, and this strip, and everything inside burned, and it's hardwood here. And I'll show you this more clearly here in a moment. But it's hardwood on both ends, yet it burned between the two. I have a few examples of this, but my point is the hardwood protective, lighter weight, more dense, dry, brittle, male wood split into these few strands at this point, and all the female wood was on the inside, so it created a burning point between there and here. Here, the male wood, the brittle, more hard, dense shell that remains, creates a supportive lower part on the branch, and the female wood, or the softer, dense, more wet material that's more pliable and malleable, like the new wood. We can call it the young wood and the old wood if you don't like the male-female analogy. My point is, it shows it in all of these. How does it choose between branches on which to burn? We're gonna check this one out right now because it looks like a, a cactus.